Hi, welcome back. It's Dr. Marvin again. If you haven't already seen some of the other series, I'm doing 52 topics over the year related to mental health. So each topic, maybe you'll hopefully find something that's relevant to you over the next year. So on the last couple, I've talked about some sleep techniques, I've talked about stress management. Today I really want to get you to understand anxiety a little bit better than what you might already know. So as I always mention, there's various places you can go to get help with things like anxiety. You can go to a medical doctor, you can go to all different sorts of people that can help you to not have the anxiety anymore. But from my perspective, I think it's very important that we look at the holistic perspective, where we're looking at what the mind does, what the body does, and that combination that just seems to really wreak havoc on us when there is panic present. So I talked a little bit about this in one of the first series about our response systems, but we are designed to have a 3-minute fight or flight sort of response. So, unfortunately, if you're driving on the freeway and somebody's coming right at you, you want to be in full fight or flight response. You want cortisol to go from your head down to, essential functioning organs like your heart. You want it to pump harder. You want it to go into your lungs so you can breathe more rapid. You want the blood to go into your legs so that you could run if you need to fight or flight. But there are places that it doesn't need to go. So blood does not need to be going anymore into your stomach. It doesn't need to digest food. It doesn't need to help you be hungry. You shouldn't be hungry if there's a car coming at you on the freeway. It slows or shuts down sexual reproduction, so you shouldn't be turned on when that's happening either. So there's a lot of non-essential functioning organs that get shut down when you're in fight or flight. So the problem is that your brain doesn't know the difference between, a car coming at you on the freeway, somebody breaking into your house, or you simply thinking about stressful stuff. Don't get me wrong, we all have very stressful things that we think about and really think they're very important to worry about in the future, but your brain has the same reaction. It slows or shuts down some non-essential functioning organs, and then it puts blood into the places that it needs to go, which is wonderful, except we do this all the time, constantly. We're constantly thinking about stressful things. We're constantly kind of in this fight or flight response more often than not. So when people have a panic attack, a lot of times they'll use words like, I thought I was losing my mind, I was having a nervous breakdown, and so I'll kind of ask more questions about what that felt like. And it's usually out of the blue that this happens, where they're just sitting kind of minding their own business, and all of a sudden, their heart rate goes up really high, their blood pressure soars, their fingers become really tingly and numb, they might have a really bad stomach ache. There's so many different things that happen in the middle of a panic attack, and it usually isn't right then and there when people are thinking about that stressful thing. The panic attacks can last, or can happen a couple of days, weeks, hours, we don't really know. It can happen after you thought about those stressful things for a long period of time, which is why people say it came out of the blue. I was just sitting here doing nothing. And that's so scary, because you don't think that you made it happen. It feels like it's uncontrollable. So one of the things with anxiety that I like to tell people is when we do have a response, I want to kind of give us a little clap, because your body's doing what it's been told to do. You told it to act that way. You just didn't realize it was going to do that. So if you're thinking all day long something stressful, like what's going to happen in a week from now, how am I going to do this in a month from now, the more and more and more that you do that, you're telling your body there's a danger, and your brain senses that danger, and then it starts doing things in the system, slowing, shutting down things, making your fingers go tingly. The tingly sensation is actually blood being pulled from those non-essential areas and going into more essential functioning places. But we don't realize that if we're just simply thinking about stressful stuff, then this can still be that same reaction. So I feel like when I have people think about the fact that you did this to yourself when you're having anxiety, it sort of takes a little bit of that pressure off. Not that that's the be-all end-all, but when you're in the middle of a panic attack or getting close to a panic attack, there's a couple of great coping strategies that can be used. In one of the previous episodes, I did talk about the 4-7-8 breathing, and I'm going to do an entire lesson dedicated to that in a couple of weeks. But it's basically doing a breathing activity where you breathe in for 4-second count, you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you breathe out for 8. Doing it 5 times is probably not very effective, but it's the minimum, and it's a minute and like 37 seconds, so you can't say you don't have enough time to do that. The actual number that seems to be really helpful is when people do it for about 10 rounds. So that's 3 minutes. You can do this for 3 minutes, where you're breathing in for 4 seconds, holding your breath for 7, and then breathing out for 8. What happens when we're panicking, when we're stressed, we're thinking about stressful stuff, is we tend to kind of clench up and we have rapid, weird breathing patterns. So that sends a message to the brain that there's a trauma, that there's a trigger. If somebody comes at you on the freeway and you need to quickly activate, you start kind of breathing rapidly. But that's for 3 minutes max, which is what our bodies are designed to do. But if you're constantly doing this throughout the day, we're having that rapid breathing, it makes the chest have to work harder, and that's painful. So some people even have chest pains where it feels like an elephant is sitting on their chest. What that actually is the chest muscles are sore from contracting and contrasting all those breaths that you're taking. It's a sore muscle. It's like if you went for a 5-mile walk, your legs are going to be sore. And that's the same thing. It's not a heart attack, although you want to check with your medical provider to ensure that you're not at risk for a heart attack. But that heaviness on the chest is usually a sign that you've been taking some pretty erratic breaths for a long period of time. So 4-7-8 is very helpful to help the brain get the signal back saying the stressor's passed, we're breathing, everything's okay. Another one is the 5 senses, where you're trying to get grounded and mindful. So you think of your 5 senses and then 5 things on each of those 5 senses. So 5 things that you see, 5 things that you smell, 5 things that you're hearing, 5 things that you're tasting, and then 5 things that you're touching. That can get you to be more mindful in the moment as well, because anxiety and panic attacks are freaking out about the future. And if you think that you might be having a heart attack because you're having a panic attack, you now sent a message to your brain that it can go into full catastrophe mode because you might be dying, but you're not. Nobody's ever died from a panic attack, and you haven't either. So that's another tool that people use a lot, is knowing if I'm having this attack, my heart rate's going up, my blood pressure's going up, my hands are tingly, my chest hurts, I'm not at risk of a heart attack, I'm going to do my breathing technique. But I also know I've never died from a panic attack, and as far as research is concerned, nobody else has either. You can kind of help yourself realize, okay, I don't need to panic about death. And when you take death off the plate, you stop catastrophizing, and that's huge for panic. It's very scary when your body does something that you're not expecting it to. So the more that you understand that you're actually creating this panic at a later date, the more you can control that earlier on. So in the next upcoming episode, I think maybe next week, I'm going to go in a little bit about the thought process and how we can change our thoughts, which actually changes our behavior. So what we think about is a direct reflection onto what our behavior is going to be, either internally or outwardly to the world. It all starts with our thoughts. So hopefully those are helpful techniques for you. Certainly get a medical checkup and make sure there's nothing physiologically wrong with your body, but also know that you are creating your panic, but it can be undone. And I always say to people, I'm really glad that your system responded the way that it did. Let's just train it to do it when it's appropriate. So your body's going into fight or flight. That means if and when you actually have to legitimately do that, you're going to be able to. You're going to have 3 minutes fight or flight. Your body is perfectly operating. You want that to happen. You just want to be in control of it a little bit more. So hopefully that's helpful. This is a part of the 10 minutes or less series. We're coming up on 9 minutes, but if you subscribe to the channel, then you'll be able to see all of the rest of the season, the topics that come up over the next 49, 50 weeks or so. You can also email me at Dr. Marvin at drkmarvin.com. You can find me on Facebook at the Whole Body Wellness Center, and hopefully this subscription will be helpful for you in the future. All right, everybody, take care. Bye.